Hey guys, welcome to the first podcast episode of a new series I would like to call Screen Queens. The series I created because I wanted to have an opportunity to talk about some of my favorite underrated actresses and some of my favorite films of theirs. I feel like a lot of my favorite actresses are very underground and no one knows who they are. So I wanted to kind of use this podcast to talk about them, maybe put a few movies on your guys' watch list because they have some really good movies that they've been a part of or produced or directed. So I wanted to talk about them and put you guys on to some movies. Obviously, I had to start the series talking about my favorite actress of all time, Wendy Crewson. You guys probably don't know who she is. If you do, I really appreciate you. Wendy is a Canadian actress and producer. She was born in Hamilton, Canada on May 9th, 1956, and she is currently 68 years old. Now, even though she's a Canadian actress and has been doing stuff in Canada for a long time now, she did have or was a part of Hollywood movies. She was a part of the Santa Claus movie series, which you guys probably will recognize her for. She was also a part of the movie Air Force One with Harrison Ford and Room with Brie Larson. She married Michael Murphy in 1988, and they were married for around 22 years, and they had 2 children. Wendy came out publicly as a lesbian in 2014, although she came out to her family years prior. In an interview with Lady Parts TV on YouTube, Wendy explains how many of the queer films she starred in helped her figure out her sexuality. As a female screenwriter, also part of the LGBTQ+ community, this part about Wendy Crewson really resonated with me. Situations like these are the reason why screenwriters are so important in the industry and deserve so much more credit. Not only does this give actors a safe space to play these types of roles, but it also tells the viewers that they're not alone and people like you exist in the real world. So obviously, when I learned this about her, I was like, oh my god, like this is an actress who was known for most of her life as a straight woman, and then having the courage to come out that late in life, to her family, to her kids who were very young at the time. It was very, very, very inspiring to me. So you guys might be wondering, how did I figure out who Wendy Crewson was? Or like, how did I stumble upon her movies? So a random night in 2020 during quarantine, I was looking for a really good movie to watch because obviously we were all bored. And I don't know if you guys know of the app Tubi, but Tubi is amazing. It's one of my favorite streaming apps because they have so many underrated like movies on there. If you guys can't find one of your favorite movies on like Netflix or Hulu, check Tubi. They probably have it. It's free. It's such a good streaming site. So I was looking on Tubi for a movie and I stumbled upon this movie called An Unexpected Love. Wendy Crewson plays one of the main characters, and she plays a lesbian real estate agent who falls in love with like a straight, recently divorced mom of 2. And it's like a cheesy Lifetime movie, but honestly, for the time it was created, I found it very accurate. It was created in 2002, written by a woman named Lee Rose, I believe. It was a monumental movie for the lesbian community at the time because it was actually one of the first Lifetime movies that focused on a lesbian relationship while also shedding really positive light on it. And there's actually a happy ending. With most lesbian movies, you don't really see a happy ending, but this movie has a very positive ending. Not only did it shed a positive light on the lesbian community, but it also showed a very accurate representation of homophobia and family disapproval. And it's still very accurate today, even though this movie was created in 2002. In 2025, it's still very relevant, and I'm sure many people can relate to the story, coming out late in life, having to come out to, very conservative parents, or having your children or your husband not accept you. I also found it super ironic that Wendy Crewson kind of went through this similar process later in life, and she didn't even know she was going to go through it. My dad also told me that I actually grew up watching Wendy Crewson as a kid without even knowing it, because I was obsessed with a film called The Seeker, The Dark is Rising. She played the main character's mom, and I didn't even know that I was watching her like every week at one point when I was a kid, because the movie was so good. I highly recommend it. So obviously 5 years later, after watching An Unexpected Love on Tubi, I wanted to talk about some of her films and TV shows, because I've basically seen everything that she's ever been in. I'm a hardcore fan. I have so many favorites, but I'm going to talk about a few that will always be on my top 10, and hopefully you guys will check these out and have some interest in watching them. So I'm going to talk about mostly films and then one TV show that's Canadian that I actually really enjoyed watching. So the first movie we're going to be starting off with, we're starting strong with The Good Son. The Good Son was directed by Joseph Rubin, and it was released on September 24th, 1993. This was a movie released in the United States. It's not Canadian or anything. And it stars the kid from Home Alone. I don't know how to pronounce his first name, and Elijah Wood. So Elijah Wood plays a young boy who loses his mother, and he has to stay with his extended family while his father is away on business. So Mark meets his cousin, the kid from Home Alone, and he realizes that the kid from Home Alone is literally crazy and tries to kill people, tries to kill the neighbor's dog. He tries to cause like a big car crash on the highway, and nobody believes Elijah Wood's character that this kid is crazy. At the end of the day, I'm not going to spoil it, but Wendy Crewson's character saves the movie. She plays the kid from Home Alone's mom in the movie, and I honestly really like this movie. I think that it's a really good like psychological thriller if you guys are into that. It has the old like 90s feel to it. It takes place on like this house on a waterfront. I'm pretty sure it was filmed locally in Maine or something like that. Maybe even Massachusetts. It's a very like pretty old feel movie. So that's a movie I highly recommend. Next movie I'm going to be talking about is Mercy. Guys, I have a lot to say about Mercy. Mercy is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. It is a little bit on the mature side. So if you guys are looking for like a spicy thriller mystery to watch, definitely check out Mercy. Mercy was directed by Damian Harris. And it was released on January 26th, 2000. It takes place in the city, and Ellen Barkin plays a homicide detective who investigates a group of gay women who are being murdered, and the police have to figure out who is murdering this like group of lesbian women who are all closeted with husbands. It's very like it's like a secret group that Ellen Barkin's character figures out when she interviews one of the people in the group, and she's like, yeah, we're all straight with powerful rich husbands, but we, do this stuff on the side. Wendy Crewson, she plays someone in the cult. She gets recruited by one of the main characters. I think this movie it's gold for a few reasons. Many people won't agree with me on this, but just hear me out. I think Mercy is a really good film for its time, as well as it's something that I've never seen done before. I think it's a very unique idea. For it to be created in 2000, also to have something this focused on the LGBTQ plus community. There are people in the LGBTQ plus community in this movie as well. And I think it's amazing, in my opinion. I think you guys should definitely check it out. Like I said, it's a little bit more on the spicy side, but it's a great movie. Next, we're going to be talking about Air Force One. Air Force One is one of Wendy Crewson's movies that she's known for. It was one of her Hollywood hits. It's with Harrison Ford and Gary Oldman and Glenn Close. There's a lot of big names in the movie. It was directed by Wolfgang Peterson, and it was released on July 25th, 1997. This movie is really good. It's, an action thriller movie. Harrison Ford plays the president, and their aircraft, Air Force One, is hijacked by Russian communists, and they hijack the plane, and they kidnap everyone on board, hold them hostage, and then everyone thinks that Harrison Ford's character, fled in, an escape pod, but he actually stayed on board to save the day. So it's kind of like one of those, mystery, what's gonna happen movies, but it's also very action-packed. Wendy Crewson plays Harrison Ford's wife, so she plays the first lady. It's a good movie. It's a classic for me, so it's always gonna be in my top 10. Next, I want to talk about a TV show of hers. It's Canadian. You can't find it anywhere. They did have it on Tubi for a little while, but they took it off. It's called The Detail. There's only been one season, but after Wendy Crewson came out, she mainly did all of her queer films and queer roles before she came out, which is kind of funny. But this was actually created in 2018, and she does play a lesbian, and she's this really strong the homicide investigator team lead, and it's kind of like Criminal Minds, just one of those shows that's each episode is about catching a bad guy, but the team is all female. It's one of those feel-good shows, even though there's some dark topics for the episodes. It's one of those feel-good shows, and I personally really liked the show. So if you can find it anywhere, I highly recommend The Detail. So the next movie I wanted to talk about was Better Than Chocolate. Better Than Chocolate was another movie that was released in the US, and it was released on August 13th, 1999, and it was directed by Ann Wheeler. So Maggie is a girl, maybe in her early 20s, and her mom, who's Wendy Crewson, and her younger brother moved in with her after she just got her new place on her own in a new city, because Wendy Crewson's character just got a divorce. So the timing is specifically bad because Maggie just met this woman named Kim, and they've fallen extremely in love with each other, but Maggie is not out to her mom. Not that Wendy Crewson's character is homophobic, but she is shocked to find this out. She kind of plays a quirky mom, very, very quirky. So she's kind of the main source of humor in the film. It's a feel-good romantic comedy. It also has that really nostalgic vintage 90s feel to it. If you guys are into LGBTQ plus movies with that kind of vibe, I definitely recommend this movie. There's a lot of LGBTQ plus representation in this movie. There's trans representation, there's lesbian representation, bi representation. It's a very, very good film, and this film was released in 1999, so it's crazy to have that much representation during that time period, and honestly is a really good representation. So that is all that I have for you on this episode of Screen Queens. Highly recommend these movies and TV shows if you guys are looking for something new to watch or a new actress to be obsessed with. Definitely check out Wendy Crewson. Her story is extremely inspiring. She has a lot of cool interviews on YouTube and speeches about how her coming out has impacted her life as an actress. She mainly does stuff in Canada now. However, the stuff that she's doing now is really, really good. Definitely recommend that you check her out. She just did a movie with Elliot Page, and it was a really good movie. So definitely check her out if you guys are looking for that. And stay tuned for another episode of Screen Queens. I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk about Tiffany Thiessen. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, bye guys.
And what I realize now I looked for in these roles was the courage and wisdom to be the strong, complex, flawed, brave protagonist of my own life. So to find myself at this age and in this place to be my most authentic self, an artist and a gay woman in a country that celebrates inclusion and diversity. I am overwhelmed with gratitude for the blessings of being a citizen of this great nation.